Ray Pollock are here. Jim Summers right now is not, and Victoria is here. So we have more than a quorum. I have to let you all know that I did not get the email. I don't know why. I did not get the notes from the last meeting. However, we will go over them next month, and we are going to, sometime between now and then, go through the minutes of the last few months, because I understand they have not been posted. Don't know if it's our fault for not posting them, or if it's that they just haven't gotten posted. So we will get back to you guys on all that at the next meeting. I think most of you know I have not been in LA for most of this year. My father is dying in Chicago, and I am back between here and there. However, I may have gotten it arranged today to bring him home tomorrow, which I honestly believe as daughter and as nurse, I really think it's going to be the best for him. So just so you guys know, I have not been here a whole lot. I may have been at one meeting, but I literally have been pretty much back there talking to a lot of you, being on email, but I haven't been here most of the time. So just keep aware, but we are aware of the minute problem, and we are going to work that out before the May meeting. Public comment, Mr. Kuzman.
Okay. Let me pass these out.
How much? 2 minutes to speak to all of us.
Oh, really? In the informal committee meeting environment?
This is a formal committee meeting.
Wow. Well, I'll try to do it in 2 minutes. That's why I always do stuff in writing.
You talk fast anyway, so we should probably.
I'm going to hang out down here if that's okay.
Hang out where we want.
And you have.
See me?
Oh, yes, I have.
You know, I know you have something later on your agenda regarding the ICO, and it was continuing business, and I didn't see when it was new business. Of course, you all know I'm very involved in the ICO because the old Granada Hills community has a proposed RFA and the community plan, and then was therefore subject to the ICO. The problem is the ICO is meant for the affluent communities that are having a problem with a proliferation of out-of-scale two-story box-like structures that are threatening the public's general health, welfare, and safety. Well, that could be a very true statement for 14 of the 15 communities that were included in the Neighborhood Conservation ICO. It is not true for the Granada Hills community. Attached to your thing is a public comment I submitted to City Council regarding this, and the fact that Old Granada Hills already had a interim control ordinance in effect from 2004 to 2007. And you're not supposed to be able to have another ICO unless there are legislative findings that prove that the situation has changed significantly, which would require a new ICO. In this particular case, you will not find that there's been any significant change, and the new ICO is even more restrictive than the previous ICO. Meaning the previous ICO allowed you to build up to 1,800 square foot house. The new ICO only allows you to build 20% more than your existing structure. I use the 18 because that was the lowest. It changes with the lot size a little bit. But the lowest lot size, 5,000 to 7,000 square feet, maximum house 1,800 square foot. In our neighborhood, we have a lot of 800 to 1,200 square foot houses. At 20%, a 1,000 square foot house could only go to 1,200 square feet. And that demonstrates that this new ICO is even more restrictive than the previous. Other problems that remain is that the 1,211 homeowners that are affected by the ICO in Old Granada Hills and the proposed RFA have never been noticed by the city or had a public hearing about these proposed changes, so they don't know they're happening. As a realtor, my biggest concern with the ICO now is people are going in, buying these small houses, they may want to add a modest addition to it, and they won't be able to, and the owners weren't notified, so they don't know. Now here's the real caveat. I'm asking for a special meeting because the ICO was only good for 45 days, and it needs to be extended before the 45 days is up. Now the code that they used to circumvent public notice and public hearing was this immediate threat to the public health and safety and welfare of the community. Well, we don't have it, so we shouldn't have been circumvented the proper noticing and hearing requirements for this. Now, the code, and it's all there, says that they can do it the first time, but before they renew it in the 45 days, they must notice in accordance with 65090, which says that they must send all the homeowners affected by the ICO, which would be everybody in Old Granada Hills and the other 14 communities from Valley Village to Beverly Grove North. They would have to send us all the notice, they would have to hold a public hearing before they could extend the ICO. Apparently, according to the council file that I reviewed today, they are circumventing that requirement that's stated in the emergency clause of the governmental code that they used to pass it in the first place. So because this is not in compliance with the way it's supposed to work, I'm asking this Planning and Land Use Committee to put this item on the agenda. I would like you to invite Mr. Englander's office, because I asked them what information they had to support a proliferation of out-of-scale mansions that are affecting our health and safety, and they had no data to indicate that this problem existed. But yet Mitch Englander used something called a friendly amendment to slip this thing into the ICO. So I'd like Mr. Englander's office to come to this meeting to say, hey, you know, why did you put Old Granada Hills into this thing when there's apparently not a problem? And when you look deeper at this, you'll see the comparison between Old Granada Hills and a place called Beverly Grove, where they passed an RFA last year. So the other part of it is you'll need to invite the Old Granada Hills residents group, because they're the people that started this whole thing. I hear talk about 2,000 surveys that were sent out, but I never see any results of those surveys. They just said the people support this. Well, there's only 1,211 homes, so 2,000 people means 800 people supporting it don't even own the properties. So, you know, I just don't know how valid their information is, so I'd like them to be invited as well, so that they can show us what their position is. And this is about getting everybody's opinion, so you can actually determine whether a community impact statement removing Old Granada Hills from the ICO would be appropriate or not. Thank you, sorry for taking so long and giving me the extra time.
I do wanna, go
I
ahead.
have a question. Have you noticed the city attorney?
Yes,
You're on record, okay, you're on record. that-
talked to him this morning.
Good, okay.
Which one?
I talked to Ken Wong. He's referred me to Zaro, who I placed a call to, who's in charge of the ICO language, and Zaro has not called me back. Zaro's phone number is 213-978-8242. That would be the city attorney in charge of the ICO ordinance language.
This would have come up in Granada Hills South or the Old Granada Hills
No, it's a
residents?
citywide thing.
Have you talked with those two groups at this point?
You know that the problem with the Old Granada Hills, Granada Hills South Neighborhood Council Planning Land Use Committee is made up of 5
Yes.
members, 3 board members and 2 stakeholders. Only 1 board member is not a member of the Old Granada Hills residents group. So any opinion that comes out of that Planning and Land Use Committee is tainted because they already have an opinion because they're behind it from 2001.
So what you want is a separate opinion from us, not to go in with them?
Unbiased, get everybody's side in here, let's have a powwow, because the city hasn't done it for us. And they claim they don't have to, and I just don't think that's right, that we should be in the dark, that homeowners are buying houses without a disclosure of a very, very critical land use issue for those folks.
Okay, so my understanding is that you want us as Granada Hills North to deal with this south, keeping south in Granada Hills
I want you to
residents
deal with it
away.
as the ICO, as the.
Because I have been
As
contacted
the
by Granada
government,
Hills.
the ICO
South, which
is, keep in mind, this ICO was put into place so they could revise the baseline mansionization ordinance,
Okay.
which is a citywide issue.
Correct.
Now, I've talked to the mayor, I've talked to the planning director at the mayor's office, and they told me Granada Hills cannot be cut out of this ICO. Which means, again, I don't know what the truth of that is. I haven't gotten to the bottom of that. But the point is a statement needs to be made that we don't have this problem that they describe, and therefore don't.
Well,
belong.
Granada Hills North doesn't have the problem, I think
Well,
South
again,
does.
the idea here is it's baseline mansionization ordinance for revision,
Right.
because they wanna make that more restrictive, and there's some other problems with that. We'll need to have a discussion about the revisions and maybe putting some things in there. The problem is we in Old Granada Hills have been put into this thing without being notified, and as my brother says, who doesn't live in my neighborhood, but in another neighborhood of Granada Hills, he says, Billy, who's to say, oh yeah, he does call me Billy. Billy, who's to say we're not next? Who's to say we're not next to undergo this underhanded, kept in the dark business based on no facts? So, you know, he makes a point. Who's to say it's not gonna happen somewhere in the north here next? You know, and we need to let the city know that they need to talk to us.
Go ahead.
You know, since this has to do with, I don't quite understand.
If you have a question.
But I would like Mr. Summers to reply since he's a realtor.
Unfortunately, he can't really, because then we're discussing the item.
Yeah, we're
and
not
I'm just
supposed to discuss
asking
it.
it to be
I-
on the agenda.
I had gotten
And
context, but
clarification
we're not
questions
supposed to.
are okay.
So,
So that was, any other clarification questions I can answer? Ms. Corbett?
Are you only requesting that Old Granada Hills be excluded and no one else to be excluded from the entire ACO?
Well, I'm kind of concerned about Valley Village, but doing my research on Valley Village, there is an indication that they are starting to have a mansionization problem. In other words, there's enough evidence to show a trend, and they are an affluent community. That's the other statement made about all these communities. They were subjected that they are all affluent. And let's face it, Old Granada Hills is a middle-class suburban community. We don't have $3 million properties. Does that answer your question?
My question is it more restrictive or less?
The ICO is more
it's more
restrictive.
restrictive.
In other words, there'll be less mansion.
There isn't any to begin with.
There isn't any?
No. And that's why you need
Well,
to look, and that's why you need to look at
I've seen
the,
two-story houses.
Yeah,
you need,
I wanna read this.
it's an understanding there,
Yeah.
so I don't wanna get it.
I wanna read
That's
this.
discussion.
And we'll have a discussion about it at a later date. I was recently contacted by somebody within Granada Hills South, actually, and Old Homeowners as well. They're dealing with it. We're really not. We're a subsequent area that's attached to them. And we are the same area, even though we're kind of different in the north end. So I think we will take it under
Okay.
consideration.
The only
We'll
problem
discuss
is
it.
we got this May 9th deadline coming up, so a special meeting would have to be in order to deal with it, get it to the board, to get a
Yeah, it would have to be a
statement
special
approved
meeting, because I
before
don't
May
think
9th.
we'll meet again before that. So that would be another consideration, would have to be another
See if you can get enough.
meeting
board
we could
together.
get. Yeah.
Have you contacted other neighborhood councils that adjoin Granada Hills South? See what they have to say?
I have contacted Northridge East. I am in discussions with Kelly Lord, who's the chair of their Planning and Land Use Committee, to also address the ICO and the BMO issues as they concern our entire community as a whole.
So you contacted Northridge North? and-
I attempted to contact Northridge West, and the chair has not contacted me back yet.
How about Sylmar? Have you contacted?
Selmar is nowhere near
Too far.
close to us at all. Mission Hills, maybe.
Pardon me.
Well, Porter Ranch is very active. You didn't contact Porter Ranch. But you
Well,
said that
you
the
know-
ICO affects everybody.
Right, and I watch their agendas to see if the topics come up, but here's the thing. We here in the North community are not experiencing the problem that the other side of the hill is. So most of the valley doesn't even know what the BMO and the ICO are. They have no clue. I asked Sun Valley, do you want to hear this? And he said, Mr. O'Gara says to me, he says, William, what's the baseline mansionization ordinance?
Is this-
They don't even know, because it's not a problem.
Has this gone to the planning commission, the community plan that you've been working on?
I think they're all.
Again, now we're starting to get into discussion.
Yeah, I'd like to
aspects.
hold the discussion, but if the community plans are all being worked on separately by the communities that own the plans, or some of them the communities that are adjacent. So I don't think we would be contacting somebody far away, and they would be contacting
Well, I
us.
don't know why we're being treated differently, just because we're to the north of this area, there's south, east, and west also.
My
Because of
only
Granada Hills.
guess is that we don't have the
Just because
problem.
we're called Granada Hills, what if we were called Silmar
So-
West? Does
So
that
Bill,
make any
simply,
difference?
simply, if you look at it as the big picture, we are Granada Hills North and Granada Hills South, but we only have one proposed Granada Hills community
That does
plan.
not be-
And the community
fine
plan
on
is
the map.
of concern to both neighborhood councils. And if one community in the neighborhood plan is affected, then it's everybody's concern in Granada Hills, not just one or the other.
Okay, I think what I'm gonna do is, I am gonna follow through with this because it came up at another meeting last week, and I know it is being worked on or talked about actively in the south area. Yeah,
Can it also be brought up at the executive meeting before we have our regular meeting?
yes. Yeah,
Oh,
because
you
we're
know
not
what?
gonna have plum again until after this deadline would pass.
The executive committee can put it on there?
Yes, they can. Yes, they can.
Or you can have a special plum meeting.
Yeah,
We do
we
it.
can if we can, is the issue.
Okay, but if we can't have that, at least push on the executive.
Okay, we'll look into it.
Okay, thank you so
Thank-
much for giving me
Okay.
the extra time, I really appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Any other public comment? I would doubt it. What I would like to do as we go into our agenda is, because we have people who are leaving, if you don't mind, can I take C very quickly, because it's a very quick thing.
Go ahead.
I hope everybody got on their email copy or copies of the communication that's been going on all weekend with myself and the owner of the, I don't want to say nude bar, it's not a nude bar, of the Sugar Sweet Bar. I have to be honest with you, this sprung up last week pretty quickly, and we were really trying to get information for today's meeting and put it on our agenda for today's meeting in case we would need to talk about it. Somehow, the internet and our really good, I'm not saying anything negative, really good community stakeholders, neighbors, whatever, saw it. I will admit, looking back at it today, maybe it wasn't the best way it was presented to everybody. People got wind of it, it got way out of control. But I am happy to say that Sugar Sweet is not applying for anything new. It is that time of year that they apply for a renewal of their license. License numbers are jumbled a bit the way the city handles it. And what we would have found out, I would have found out yesterday morning, in time for today, is that this was just a renewal of their license, nothing in sight. So, except that if you would like to explain a little bit of what we just sent around, there's no problem. We were gonna have 100 people here. There is nobody here. It was just a very maybe sad mistake, or we have really good people in this area that really stay on to what goes on in our area, and that's really what happened, Bill.
If this were to move ahead, they would be referred to the
Yes.
councilman of the district.
Yes,
Councilman would send it to us, and this is a conditional use.
it would have been a 1 to 2 year process. It would
The
not
zoning
have
administrator
happened
would hold a
overnight.
public hearing on it.
Right.
We wouldn't even be in the channel of decision making.
Absolutely, but I don't believe that our stakeholders really know the whole process, and somebody just read it. It goes on Nextdoor, it goes on all these internet sites that I don't happen to participate in. This is a good reason why. And I believe it was seen from what I can get from the number of people, and I have neighbors who finally call me and say, what the hell is going on? I think it happened on Nextdoor. It's a very sad mistake. We are dealing with the business owner. I will be honest with you, he's a really nice guy. He's not real happy with how this makes him look. But I did try explaining to him, and we'll have another conversation with him tonight, that this is how councils work. We cannot talk about things till they're on agendas. We sometimes check into things. He isn't around, somebody isn't around every single day to get in touch with. So the internet is today, and this is how things happen, and we have to follow the rules. It has to be on our agenda to be able to discuss it, and that's why it was on the agenda. I will tell you, and Agnes and I haven't talked yet because she's not here, I have learned that we need to be very careful how we put things on our agenda from now on. I didn't do this agenda, unfortunately. We have to be very careful that we should have put it on here as a blank plain item, not as what our fears would have been that we were told. So just know that this is a non-issue. You have gotten a few emails from me. If you have any questions, continue to email me. I'm speaking with the owner. I'm speaking with our people at Michael and Ray, yeah.
We can look at this in any other light. We can say this is a test, and we did get community involvement.
I'm trying to nominate the rest, so, yeah. Oh, yes,
No.
we do have
It
community.
may not be the one we
Involvement.
wanted.
I agree. It's not, it isn't our way of really wanting to do
Right,
things.
no. But
But we do
The
know we
community
have
has to come
community
out and-
involvement. Oh, yes.
they do talk to each other once they get the notice.
Yeah, and more people get the notice. The other thing if there's any silver lining to this, I'm glad to see that a lot of people look at our plum agenda and want to know what's going on in our community, that they're not closing down, that we may work very hard, we may spend a lot of time, and I think what we do is worth it, even though we may sit here and have one stakeholder with us today. That's good news in general. Jim,
I
will
look
you?
at the positive side, yes.
Yeah, I'm trying to. It's hard
Yeah,
now.
mistakes happen, I understand that. And I think one thing the plum committee can do, and I think we talked about a little, is if you have a smaller version of the master land use permit, so that the applicant in writing states exactly what they want.
Yeah, he normally would not even have come to us at all.
Well, then no, I mean, if it was for everything,
For
really.
new.
For any permits or variances or anything, because I also find from Granada Hills South and also from here, we have to do a lot of research that shouldn't be required of us. It should be the applicant that does that, and they do that in other neighborhood councils, at least to say what their variance is and what their basis for.
Will you send me that comment?
I actually sent you the land use
Oh,
application.
you
thing.
did just, okay,
Yeah,
then I'll
not
get
now.
it.
But it does help, and it does help come in to save time and be clear on everything else.
Okay,
And
thank
it's
you.
it's simple, we can cut it down to one page.
Okay.
I just wanna say, the agenda says possible request for. It does not say request for, it says
Yes,
possible.
I agree.
So it was just a forethinking of if this should come up, we just wanna,
I agree.
and
the
so
only-
that, I
yeah.
don't see anything
It
wrong
says
with it.
possible, it didn't say
It does
happening.
not say request, it says
Yeah.
possible, and that doesn't say it's happening, it says possible. And if you read that, that's what it means. It could or could not happen.
That may be how we see it, but I will admit if I was a homeowner living right near it, even a possible something like this may have kind of sparked.
Flag
I'm
goes up.
pretty close.
The flag goes up.
They have
And
to read all the words and they don't know.
I think that Agnes or we, I don't ever want to single anybody out. I think that we, and I do proofread most of what goes out, I think that our biggest mistake, and I'll take it, is we shouldn't have put a possible request for new dancers, we should have put possible request from, and just left what the
Left it at
request
that.
was out. We've learned, and I paid hard for that, learning, but I think it's a good thing. If anything, we know somebody who owns a business there, we're gonna be real nice to him. But these things happen.
Yeah.
This is a community, and you know what? Let everybody in this community know. We stand here, we're vocal, we have residents who wanna know and know what's going on. So I'm not making light of it in any way, but as of this morning, I believe it will be a closed deal.
No, I just have a couple things to say. One, I'm trying to pin down who gets info at ghnnc.net.
There's no dot net.
It's not org?
Not org, I'm
I
sorry,
think
dot org.
it's everybody on our mailing list gets
Describe
the
what you mean by
agenda.
who gets info, be more specific.
Who receives emails with that address on
With what address?
it? Info at GH.
Last time I asked Aaron, it was essentially exact.
It was what?
Exact.
Oh, just exactly, okay. Because I got it, but I know Jan didn't get it.
I didn't get
It's
it.
not clear who gets it.
Yeah,
It may be,
was-
it may be an old exact that never got updated too, keep in
Oh,
mind.
You know, I actually got,
Shouldn't
one of our
everybody
members
get
sent
it?
this to me.
That's what the board ad is for.
And then the reason I'm asking is because the owner of the establishment sent a email with his complaint to info@GSNS, and I just wasn't sure
Yeah.
who received it. I sent a reply out last night to him.
I'm not sure if I got it because with all the stuff going back and forth, I didn't read all the headers. But I did see something from him, but it could have been forwarded from somebody
But
else.
anyway, for anybody that did not receive this, I brought extra copies. You have them, or?
I passed them around.
They're floating around here. What
Everybody
this
get
is,
one?
now this is the first time that I've ever seen this. I don't know if anybody else has ever seen this. But this is the City of Los Angeles Notice of Application for Police Commission Permit.
Oh, you got the extras? Ah, you're holding up with extras. So,
And anyway, on this form, amongst other things, my glasses on, I can read
you
it.
can't read the form anyway because it's such a messy thing.
Yeah, you can read it.
Oh,
At
around,
least I
try
can.
the second page.
With my glasses on. But you'll notice on here, up at the first page, this was sent to not only neighborhood council,
Supposedly,
supposedly,
I get it.
somehow I got it, I don't know how I got it. but I
Well,
got
if
it.
this goes to, just to interrupt, if this goes to, as it says here, and we don't know that it does, it just gave an address, doesn't say it was
Yeah,
sent.
But
If
anyway,
it goes to that GHA.
anyway, let me just make a
it's
few points on
supposed to
this.
go to everybody.
Yeah,
You
a
were
few
asking.
points on this. Also, it says on here that it went to the DSVD Bureau Vice,
He coordinates.
Vice Coordinator.
He coordinates.
So right away when you read this, you're thinking, whoa, this is something pretty bad somebody's requesting, right? And then it says that this is for a permit. It doesn't say it's a renewal, which it actually was. It doesn't say that on here. It doesn't say it's a renewal. It makes it look like it's a new permit to the LAPD Police Commission. And this permit is for cafe entertainment / show. Did anybody know as of last week what cafe entertainment / show
It's on the back
is?
page.
Yeah, I know, but before receiving this, did anybody ever know what that meant?
Yeah.
I certainly didn't. I never heard of a cafe entertainment / show.
Sometimes when they have show, and hopefully it's okay, I'm chiming in, sometimes when they have show, it means like entertainment, like a band or anything like that.
Yeah.
Or anything like
Just
that.
that's
But
why.
anyway, on page 2 here is the official explanation. And there's actually 2 sections on cafe entertainment / show. And they come under the same LAMC 103.102 for both of these categories. Okay? You'll notice one of them, the second one says, yeah, I can't read it.
Dash adult.
Yeah.
Can anybody read it
Yeah,
clearly?
it's an adult show. if it-
Yeah, basically
it's the
adult
same number.
shows, et cetera, you know, sexual something or other, anatomical parts being
Right.
shown, et cetera, et cetera. Now, the one above it, it has a one-word difference, adult, says, the one that doesn't have adult says, you know, karaoke and DJs and things.
Mhm.
Give me the-
So these are controlled by the same ordinance, and they both come under the same title except for one word. And I don't believe, at least I've never seen it before, that we've ever received one of these before. So when you suddenly get this, and it doesn't say it's a renewal, and it's talking about the Vice Squad, and it's talking about adult entertainment, and all kinds of things, naturally it can, you know, lead to misconceptions.
Typically, when you have entertainment on site, you have to make sure you get approval through the police department, so that if you don't have a rowdy
And
bar or anything
that's
like that.
exactly where I started.
That's the reason for this
Sure.
permit through the police.
Yeah,
Sure.
and I did go to the police, and I went to our 2 senior leads, I went to a lot of people. That was the first person I contacted to say, have you guys heard of this? When I heard that, I didn't even get the email, I got it from one of our stakeholders. So that was the first lead that I
So
followed.
I think in the future, if you do see one of these notice of applications for permits from the police commission, we probably won't get quite as excited next time, knowing that this is only half the story.
Yeah.
It's all in the detail.
It's all in the details, yeah.
And I will tell you, one of the things I put in my letter, and I don't remember if I sent this out to our board as well, to the 20 or 30 stakeholders that I heard from over the weekend, was exactly that this happened to come in on a week that we had 2 meetings, we have to get agendas out. They wanted immediate something, and if we would have let it go and would have put it on this agenda for today, we would have had to wait another 5 weeks before we could talk about it. And nobody wanted us to wait another 5 weeks. They wanted to talk about it immediately. So I think had it come out of any other week, I wouldn't have had to put an agenda out for today's meeting. I would have found this out before today's meeting.
We did what we needed to do.
I feel we did what we needed to do. There were only a couple things looking back, and looking back is wonderful. I think that we could have handled it by using a little different wording and still done what we did. Whatever we did well. I think it'll ride well for people, and we've learned a valuable lesson in many, many ways. The only person that I am hoping does not get hurt, and guys, if you know anybody, go down to the bar, have a drink with your friends, be really nice. The gentleman who owns the Sugar Sweet is a really nice guy. I've never met him or staff. I'm not one who goes to a bar. He's just very concerned about if this is what stakeholders and people in the area think, and I'm trying to get across to him. It's not that this is put on TV, on the news. It's these 20 or 30 people that kind of got a little bit worried about where they live.
We must be the applicant, though. Of the police
The
department.
his family owns it. He is the one person who takes care of it. I think it used to belong to a parent. And there's somebody else who. The reason why he was so upset about this whole thing is he recently had to let go an employee, and he was afraid the employee was coming back to hurt him, and that's why I said, no, don't get him in trouble. I just have a feeling there's more to it. Can you give me? I asked for 48
There
hours.
was a fee he had to pay, there was a notification list they had to prepare. I mean,
Lots of
you can't play a
misunderstandings.
dumb and say I didn't know anything about that.
Right, just lots of misunderstandings, and I've been very honest. I've not given out any names. The only person he knows is me. He doesn't know anybody else, because I don't feel that anybody should always. We're council, and we're here to protect, and our businesses and our stakeholders. And so I'm not going to let anybody on our committee or on our board go down for this. This is what happened. This is what we can do to make it better. And I do believe, after I have my hope, the last conversation, I'm also asking Michael to call him. I feel that it would be appropriate for our president to call him. He was ill over the weekend. I don't know if you guys knew I spoke to him. But we are really working with him as a really good business establishment in our community. And it's sad that it happened, but we live in the age of the internet, and we have to be very careful, and more careful than we would probably ever be. So, Ray, anything else? Anybody, anything else?
I was gonna say, by the way, if you guys ever are having these issues, one other person to call is the actual owner of the building. Because any of this stuff, any change has to run through him.
Well,
because,
we understand there's 5 owners of that.
I know,
Complex.
there's
three.
There's 3 plus McDonald's so far.
Okay, there's 4. I
Yeah.
always thought there was 5.
The old house, Fresh and Easy is one. Then from the liquor store to the bar, from the Subway to the old pharmacy, now the gym is another owner, and then from Curves to Starbucks is
Is
another owner.
And the other thing that, and I don't expect stakeholders, I'm just learning what plan and land use, because there's a bar in the area, because they would have never gotten permission to do this. It would not have happened.
Yeah.
But the sad thing is, it started earlier in the week, and I'm honestly saying, by the time I really got around to it, it was Thursday night, and it was Friday, and then we went into the weekend, and everyone's gone. So that's when finally somebody said, I just heard, I know who the owner is. I was on the phone in 5 minutes Sunday morning. So be aware of it. Pass on positive kudos if you can.
Yeah, just so you know, it'll be even less of a problem in the future if the community plan passes, because you know how they have a specific plan on Chatsworth Street?
Yes.
They're gonna increase that to that area in another commercial district, so it'll be the same rules as down there.
Interesting.
So,
That may have
which
helped.
doesn't allow, topless dance bars or.
That's assuming they
other
follow
stuff.
it.
Well,
Community
yeah.
plan was violated when they moved in the, what do you call it, secondhand store the theater used to be,
Correct.
or it went in anyway.
Thank you. That would
Yeah, well,
really
that's our
help
job to
out.
make sure they follow it too.
So that is the story. If you hear anybody talking, let them know the truth, and then we will be back in touch with the owner tonight, to hopefully be able to close the whole thing, but it was handled well, it was handled right by people, and I thank everyone, Ray, I thank everybody for, being positive. Okay, why don't we move on our agenda to 3A at this point. We have a request, and we actually have a speaker here who can give us all the information. Over here on the corner of Woodley and San Fernando Mission, they would like to be putting in a convenience store. So I'm gonna let you go ahead and take it and give us all the information.
I'm gonna pass these along. I apologize, I don't have as enough, if you wouldn't mind passing those down. If you guys would like, I mean, you have one? Okay. Would you guys like?
Can we share one?
Yeah, would you mind passing one back for them to share, if that's okay? One of you guys, maybe you guys could share. I apologize. I thought there was only gonna be about 4 or 5 people. I thought I had enough. Well, my name is George Unin. I'm with Pacific West Property Group. I am doing the leasing across the street for Jim Martin, who's the owner who purchased the building last year. He bought it January 2014. He picked me up to do the leasing based on the fact that I actually grew up in the area. I grew up on Havenhurst in San Fernando. in Havenhurst and Rinaldi, right around the corner. Familiar with the area. And he bought it with the intention of trying to brighten it up, fix up the building. I don't know if you guys have seen the changes that have been made. You redid the stucco, all the awnings, all the glass storefronts, the parking lot, all the signage. I mean, the signage, if you just did a street view a few years ago to now, I mean, it's a completely different building. But he bought it with the intention of putting in quality tenants. We said no to a number of tenants there. We did not want to have the barbershop from across the street move in. We didn't want to have any type of sketchy type tenants. We wanted quality tenants. And one of the first things we did once the building was ready was go to the current liquor store and said, hey, here's what our plan is. We'd like you guys to rebrand, maybe take away the liquor and go Highlands Wine and Spirits, something that would really help the community, wouldn't really bring that negative liquor connotation to the building. And at the end of the day, he didn't want to make a deal. He didn't want to pay any more rent. He didn't want, Jim was going to contribute money. So we said, not a problem. We did a new deal with him, and with the go-ahead that we were going to try to find a convenience store user who would work in the area, somebody who would be able to service the high school and the new DMV that was coming up. So that was our goal. We had a number of Circle K franchisees interested. We had actually talked to 7-Eleven. 7-Eleven was not interested only because of the access in and out of the building.
Parking.
Yeah, it's not parking, it was access. That building was built in a very odd way where if you drive over there, has a very tight driveway when you turn in. So 7-Eleven, after many mistakes 3 years ago, they did a lot of deals they shouldn't have. They had to pull back. If it was then, they would have done it, but it wasn't. So Quick Mart came to the table about 3-4 months ago. Quick Mart is a new LA-based company. They have a lot of people that came from 7-Eleven and from the other convenience stores, and they're pretty much similar to a 7-Eleven or Circle K. Their primary focus is food, snacks, drinks, Slurpees, ices. That's what they sell. And the goal there was to have somebody again that would be able to service the neighborhood and also a quality tenant. I put this little thing together just so you can see. It's just a little synopsis of what they do, a couple photos as examples. I mean, the goal there is to open up the side, create a little bit more window line so you can see in. So it visually looks better. It's going to be completely gutted and rebuilt from the inside so that it's a new, nice store. I can answer questions and I'll kind of chime in. Go ahead if you.
Is this the store right next to Casa de Pizza?
Yeah.
There's a parking problem.
Well, it's tight in the evening when Casa de Pizza is open.
Yeah.
If you go there in the morning, see these guys, their main business is going to be in the morning, and they're going to have a lot of walkers. Currently, Casa de Pizza, during lunchtime and dinner time, they take over the lot. I mean, it's all Casa de Pizza. But these guys, they're gonna be opening up, 6 a.m. People are gonna come in, grab a cup of coffee, grab a snack. The students on their way, the students are gonna walk down there and pick up food. Also, we have loading. We didn't realize this. Jim, the owner of the building, came to you guys, I think, last year and asked about parking. But after going back to the property, we noticed that the front section of the curb was all yellow already. It was all loading. So a lot of the people who visit the center into the liquor store, they pull up, they run out, they grab their item, and they go on their way. And we've actually intentionally put in office users in the other locations to limit the amount of people coming in and out. I don't know if you noticed that. We have a farmer's insurance who we wanted to put in there. We knew when this DMV was coming in, we were gonna put in a farmer's. And next door, we put another office user in because they're not going to take over our parking lot. We were very strategic about how we went about leasing that building. Like I said, we could have had the entire building leased a year ago, but we didn't do that because we want specific type of users who will better the building, who are not going to be a detriment to the building and the neighborhood. So, as far as the parking, yeah, it's tight, it's awkward, but most of it is caused by Casa de Pizza, mainly on Thursday nights when they have their band. But overall, it's pretty wide open. You could go there for 3-4 hours, right before Casa de Pizza opens, up to 11 o'clock, parking lot's wide open. Yeah. Yes, sir?
This reminds me of the type of business you see on a highway where you pull in to get some gasoline, then you go into the store right next to the gas station.
Yeah.
And you get snacks, you get coffee, you get something that they have on the shelves, and then you leave. So it's kind of a quick grocery store type of business.
That's exactly it. You can compare it to your 7-Eleven. I mean, it's pretty much a replication of a Circle K or 7-Eleven, of those convenience stores. And again, the one big question that everybody always asks is how much alcohol are they going to sell? And I'll tell you. Let me step back a sec. They've already applied for a Type 20 license. The current liquor store, after he didn't want to make a deal with us, we said no problem. He wanted to move, so he applied for a conditional use permit with the city of Los Angeles for the property to the south of us. He still hasn't had a hearing. It's not even scheduled yet. But he wanted to move across the way. He has a Type 21, so he sells beer, wine, and spirits, so full liquor, and that's the majority of his business. He's selling all alcohol. These guys are only they applied for Type 20, and it's posted now. They posted it on the 26th of last month, and they are only going to sell beer and wine, and it'll be about 15% of sales.
Because they are aware that there is a high school right
Yeah.
there. Karting is done. They're
Oh
very
yeah. See, a lot of the franchises are very big about that. They have plans in order. We talked to ABC. ABC said, well, if there's anything, they may put some conditions on you. I was like, no problem.
Right.
Loitering, we'll put anti-loitering signs up. The whole facility is going to be, there's going to be cameras everywhere. They're trained individuals. I mean, they're not.
Yeah.
They have too much money at risk, compared to a liquor store to not take the extra step to make sure they don't card. And in all honesty, it'll be a better experience. You go to and I'm not pointing the finger at the liquor store, but the liquor store, this liquor store, or Altadena, they're just old. My family's in the business. I get it, and some of them are trying to change, and but they're old. They're old, and they're just not kept up. These guys are going to put in a quality establishment. They're going to have foods like your sandwiches and your hot dogs and all of those items. Yeah. Yes, sir.
You're gonna have a little problem with your liquor license because that's called concentration, and ABC is not looking to have two outlets, 21 and 20 licensed so close together.
Well, I can explain that. So basically, ABC has asked us to reach out to the councilman's office just to give him a heads up. The problem is, the liquor store, there's a little bit of an issue here that the liquor store's license is technically still here, but he technically doesn't have anywhere to move it. So if he goes away, we're allowed to put another one in there. Otherwise, the city council's
In
gonna.
1 year.
Yes.
But he can apply to move it with him to his new location.
Which is not approved yet, though. That's the problem.
So he's made the application. and you're gonna come in later or afterwards and make an application for a 20.
It's already in.
Oh, it's in?
Our application is in. They posted 3.5 weeks ago. So they posted with the ABC 3.5 weeks ago. They have, we've been in contact with zoning, Pat at zoning in the planning department. So she's signed off saying, it's a non-conforming use. It was originally approved through the state.
Pat, you said?
Her name is Pat. She works in the planning zoning division. They're the ones who sign off that basically say you had a conditional use there, it was intact, you sold alcohol, the whole 1 year thing you were talking about, and you're allowed to continue to sell it. But ABC also wanted us to go to Englander's office to basically get their okay, and I've been in contact with Hannah over there as well. And again, the goal is not to add another. Truthfully, it's not to add another licensee into the area because that's their main business. But it's and I explained it on here as well. It's an ancillary item. They utilize it because when somebody comes in, they'll grab that on the way out. It's very little of their floor space, about 15%, and equates to about 15% of their sales, if that.
Are there other 7-Elevens or anything within a mile or two of here that people will run into? Will this business come in and immediately have competition by another similar type market?
There are 7-Elevens. There's a 7-Eleven 0.7 miles away on San Fernando Mission, but there's word that's a horrible 7-Eleven. It doesn't do well. It's a gas station, which is odd. But the one that has a gas station, on the other side of the 405, there's word that they may try to move onto Sepulveda. They may try to move that location to have a little bit more traffic.
So that would be the only other similar type convenience store in the area.
Yeah.
Mike?
No, because you're gonna have a liquor store across the street, they're not gonna just carry liquor.
Yeah.
They're gonna carry other items. And the Altadena drive-through, that is a convenience store, it's not a milk. It's not really just a milk store.
Mm-hmm. Altadena, though, there's word that, they've been trying to sell their property for about a year now, because I think they want to close up shop and move to Florida. So it's been on the market, and I think they're just keeping it operational right now to kind of ride it out to try to sell it.
Do they have wine and beer there?
Yes, they do.
Okay, so you have wine and beer there, you'll have possibly one across the street, yours, and then this is a bar, which is a little bit different. The bar's in the corner there.
It's a walk-in bar.
Yeah.
It's an on sale, not an off sale.
Yeah.
Oh, it's I didn't know the bar was still there. Oh, okay. But there is a liquor store there, an old liquor store.
Okay, I didn't know what the concentration for liquor stores was.
Actually, the concentration for the area is only one license. There's already 4 or 5 over here.
How big an area does that cover?
I don't know how big the district is.
Have you talked to any of the residences? Or
Oh yeah, we've had mailers. I mean, we have a whole list of them that have gone out to everybody within 500 feet of the premises, as per the ABC.
Okay.
So they've already gone out. They've sent them out. And we're in communication with ABC and any of the residents that may have an issue.
Okay, but you've talked to them and communicated.
Oh yeah. If anybody
Were there any issues?
Oh, well, no. Have we yet? No, we can. Once ABC sends us any protests that have come up, we have the ability to reach out to them directly, which we would.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you just went with the minimum 500 feet?
Yes. Otherwise, we would have a long list of names, and we'd be more than happy to reach out even further. That's not a big deal. It really isn't. But that's just what they ask of you, so that's what we did. And truthfully, I'm not even involved with Quick Mart, just so you guys know. I'm just the leasing agent of the premises, so I do the leasing at the property there. And I've been working closely with them and with the ABC planning and Englander's office to get this through.
Are they planning to enlarge the parking lot?
There's no way for us to enlarge the parking lot. We're actually gonna adjust the parking spaces in the front to allow for ease of access. We're gonna create a new ramp, with the truncated domes with the yellow bumps, and move the handicap space over to allow ease of access into that store and Casa de Pizza. So there'll be 2 spaces that will be exclusively for the store, which there are now, and there'll be 2 15-minute parking spaces because Casa de Pizza struggles with takeout orders. you know, somebody wants to come in, grab a pizza or full dinner, and they can't. So our goal is to help both, so we'll have either 10 or 15-minute parking, so it'll be 2 and 2 right in front of those stores.
And that's been approved by the city already?
No, we're looking to do it right now. That's our goal. Yes.
What do you think about the DMV traffic here?
I mean, as
I
far
mean,
as
just
relation to the store or in
Have you
general.
noticed- No, you've been here a while. Do you notice any difference since they've been opening, or do we still have the same over trafficking? That
Oh,
they
it's
had when they
it's
opened?
died down a little bit.
Okay.
It has. So you can come out here and look at the streets. You know, in the morning, the streets were packed from 8 a.m. or 7 a.m. all the way through 6 o'clock. Now, as around lunchtime, it starts to die down a little bit. So, yeah, it was very hard.
I didn't get it before.
But again, the goal here is not necessarily to, you know, add somebody who's going to sell a ton of alcohol. It's a downgrade of the current license. You know, our goal was to just inform you guys as to what was going on. You know, we're trying to enhance the corner, beautify it per se. I mean, right now it's old, it's crummy, it doesn't look good. You know, the owner is a big value guy. He likes to give back, and he's trust me, he's giving back a very large amount of money for these guys to be able to help them with their build out, and he was going to do that with the previous tenant or the current tenant as well. Yes.
There is a, I don't know, an animal or something, the person that died still there. How long is that going to be there?
You know, we've asked. We haven't received any kind of feedback. The owner, they've cleaned it up, but they keep.
There's there are
It
two
goes
bikes
by.
there.
Yeah, they keep going back and refreshing it. I saw a kid there the other day, I think one of his friends, that went in there, was cleaning up around it, cleaning the bike up.
And the flowers, et cetera.
Yeah, I mean, it's public property, it's not our property. Well, not Jim's property. So I think he's reported it, because you know, the LA has that little app that you can take a picture of it and send it in, but nothing's been done.
I was just curious about
Yeah.
it.
I have no idea.
Englander had issued, or authored a motion in city council that specifically allowed those types of memorials to exist for a certain length of time. I forget how long it was.
I
Frankly,
understand that, I was just curious what the length might be, or.
I can't remember what the
We were
time
there
was
last
either.
night at Captain Pizza, and I just.
well, it's a hazard anyway. Not only is it a hazard to the pedestrians, but everyone else. The wax gets on the sidewalk, you never get it off, etc. But I'm particularly kind of amused at this. Alcoholic beverages are expected to comprise only a small percentage of sales, but we have to have it. If it's a small percentage, you don't have to have it. I just find that interesting.
I think part of it is, and this
You
is
want,
just
you want to sell beer and wine because it makes lots of money?
yeah. Well, yes. Oh, the beer and wine that's making a lot of money is your craft beers and your imports. They're not selling a great deal of that, actually, if at all. I don't know. I don't have a list of their items. I think the big thing is nowadays, somebody wants to go grab some beer, whatever kind it may be, but in addition to that, they may go there to grab that beer, but grab all the other products as well, or vice versa. Yes, sir.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the beer and wine is just like the Twinkies and the potato chips and everything else. If people really want to buy the stuff and they want the right price, they're going to go to Bonds or they're going to go somewhere else to buy them. They're going to pay a higher price for everything in this place, you know, just because they don't have the buying volume. And to me, 15% is probably will contribute 25% of their profit. So I think it's it'd be a necessary thing for them.
Is it? I mean, I don't know, Quickie Mart, do they all have beer and wine, or?
Yeah, some of them actually have